The sixth topic. This consists of a single, brief proof of the pillar of belief, belief in God, for which there are numerous decisive proofs and explanations in many places in the Risale-i Nur. In Kastamonu, a group of high school students came to me, saying, "Tell us about our Creator, our teachers do not speak of God." I said to them, "All the sciences you study continuously speak of God and make known the Creator, each with its own particular tongue. Do not listen to your teachers, listen to them. For example, a well-equipped pharmacy with life-giving potions and cures in every jar weighed out in precise and wondrous measures doubtless shows an extremely skillful, practiced, and wise pharmacist. In the same way, to the extent that it is bigger and more perfect and better stocked than the pharmacy in the marketplace, the pharmacy of the globe of the earth with its living potions and medicaments in the jars which are the 400,000 species of plants and animals shows and makes known to eyes that are blind even by means of the measure or scale of the science of medicine that you study the all-wise one of glory, who is the pharmacist of the mighty pharmacy of the earth." To take another example, a wondrous factory which weaves thousands of sorts of cloth from a simple material doubtless makes known a manufacturer and skillful mechanic. In the same way, to whatever extent it is larger and more perfect than the human factory, this traveling dominical machine known as the globe of the earth with its hundreds of thousands of heads, in each of which are hundreds of thousands of factories, shows and makes known by means of the measure or scale of the science of engineering which you study its manufacturer and owner. And, for example, a depot, store, or shop in which has been brought together and stored up in regular and orderly fashion 1,001 varieties of provisions undoubtedly makes known a wondrous owner, proprietor, and overseer of provisions and foodstuffs. In just the same way, to whatever degree it is vaster and more perfect than such a store or factory, this food store of the most merciful one known as the globe of the earth, this divine ship, this dominical depot and shop holding goods, equipment, and conserved food, which in 1 year travels regularly an orbit of 24,000 years, and carrying groups of beings requiring different foods and passing through the seasons on its journey and filling the spring with thousands of different provisions like a huge wagon, brings them to the wretched animate creatures whose sustenance has been exhausted in winter, by means of the measure or scale of the science of economics which you study. This depot of the earth makes known and makes loved its manager, organizer, and owner. And, for example, let us imagine an army which consists of 400,000 nations, and each nation requires different provisions, uses different weapons, wears different uniforms, undergoes different drill, and is discharged from its duties differently. If this army and camp has a miracle-working commander who on his own provides all those different nations with all the different provisions, weapons, uniforms, and equipment without forgetting or confusing any of them, then surely the army and camp show the commander and make him loved appreciatively. In just the same way, the spring camp of the face of the earth in which every spring a newly recruited divine army of the 400,000 species of plants and animals are given the varying uniforms, rations, weapons, training, and demobilization in utterly perfect and regular fashion by a single commander-in-chief who forgets or confuses not one of them. To whatever extent the spring camp of the face of the earth is vaster and more perfect than that human army, by means of the measure or scale of the military science that you study it makes known to the attentive and sensible, its ruler, sustainer, administrator, and most holy commander, causing wonderment and acclaim, and makes him loved and praised and glorified. Another example. Millions of electric lights that move and travel through a wondrous city, their fuel and power source never being exhausted, self-evidently make known a wonder-working craftsman and extraordinarily talented electrician who manages the electricity, makes the moving lamps, sets up the power source, and brings the fuel. They cause others to congratulate and applaud him, and to love him. In just the same way, although some of the lamps of the stars in the roof of the palace of the world in the city of the universe, if they are considered in the way that astronomy says, are 1,000 times larger than the Earth and move 70 times faster than a cannonball, they do not spoil their order, nor collide with one another, nor become extinguished, nor is their fuel exhausted. According to astronomy, which you study, for our sun to continue burning, which is 1,000,000 times larger than the Earth and 1,000,000 times older, and is a lamp and stove in one guest house of the most merciful one, as much oil as the seas of the earth, and as much coal as its mountains are, as many logs and much wood as 10 earths are necessary for it not to be extinguished. And however much greater and more perfect than this example are the electric lamps of the palace of the world in the majestic city of the universe, which point with their fingers of light to an infinite power and sovereignty which illuminates the sun and other lofty stars like it without oil, wood, or coal, not allowing them to be extinguished or to collide with one another, though traveling together at speed, to that degree by means of the measure of the science of electricity which you either study or will study, they testify to and make known the monarch, illuminator, director, and maker of the mighty exhibition of the universe. They make him loved, glorified, and worshipped. And, for example, take a book in every line of which a whole book is finely written, and in every word of which a surah of the Quran is inscribed with a fine pen, being most meaningful with all of its matters corroborating one another, and a wondrous collection showing its writer and author to be extraordinarily skillful and capable, it undoubtedly shows its writer and author together with all his perfections and arts as clearly as daylight, and makes him known. It makes him appreciated with phrases like, "What wonders God has willed," and "Blessed be God." Just the same is the mighty book of the universe. We see with our eyes a pen at work which writes on the face of the earth, which is a single of its pages, and on the spring, which is a single folio, the 300,000 plant and animal species, which are like 300,000 different books, all together, one within the other, without fault or error, without mixing them up or confusing them, perfectly and with complete order, and sometimes writes an ode in a word like a tree, and the complete index of a book in a point like seed. However much vaster and more perfect and meaningful than the book in the example mentioned above is this compendium of the universe and mighty embodied Quran of the world, which is infinitely full of meaning and in every word of which are numerous instances of wisdom, to that degree in accordance with the extensive measure and far-seeing vision of the natural science that you study and the sciences of reading and writing that you have practiced at school, it makes known the inscriber and author of the book of the universe together with his infinite perfections. Proclaiming, "God is most great," it makes him known. Uttering phrases like, "Glory be to God," it describes him. Acclaiming him with words like, "All praise be to God," it makes him loved. Thus, hundreds of other sciences like these make known the glorious creator of the universe together with his names, each through its broad measure or scale, its particular mirror, its far-seeing eyes, and searching gaze, they make known his attributes and perfections. It is in order to give instruction in this matter, which is a brilliant and magnificent proof of divine unity, that the Quran of miraculous exposition teaches us about our Creator most often with the verses, "Sustainer of the heavens and the earth." Quran 6:1. And, "He created the heavens and earth." Quran 13:16. I said this to the schoolboys, and they accepted it completely, affirming it by saying, "Endless thanks be to God, for we have received an absolutely true and sacred lesson. May God be pleased with you." And I said, "Man is a living machine who is grieved with thousands of different sorrows and receives pleasure in thousands of different ways, and despite his utter impotence has innumerable enemies, physical and spiritual, and despite his infinite poverty, has countless needs, external and inner, and is a wretched creature continuously suffering the blows of death and separation." Yet, through belief and worship, he at once becomes connected to a monarch so glorious he finds a point of support against all his enemies and a source of help for all his needs, and like everyone takes pride at the honor and rank of the Lord to whom he is attached. You can compare for yourselves how pleased and grateful and thankful and full of pride man becomes at being connected through belief to an infinitely powerful and compassionate monarch, at entering his service through worship, and transforming for himself the announcement of the execution of the appointed hour into the papers releasing him from duty. I repeat to the calamity-stricken prisoners what I said to the schoolboys. One who recognizes him and obeys him is fortunate even if he is in prison, while one who forgets him is wretched and a prisoner even if he resides in a palace. Even, one wronged but fortunate man said to the wretched tyrants who were executing him, I am not being executed but being demobilized and departing for where I shall find happiness. But I see that you are being condemned to eternal execution and am therefore taking perfect revenge on you. And declaring, there is no God but God, he happily surrendered up his spirit. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save that which you have taught us. Indeed, you are all-knowing, all-wise. Quran 2:32.